So I know a few state reps here in New Hampshire that have basically said, okay, that's a hill I'm fine dying on, so I'm going to just keep concealed carrying.
Free Talk Live.
Sarah calling in from New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live.
Sarah, aren't you outraged about what's happening to this poor nail salon owner?
She's just trying to open a small business.
I am more outraged about the sheriff from our 6 counties refusing to follow our new state law.
What's the new law he's refusing to follow?
First of all, what's the new law?
The gun control law. We passed 3 gun control laws, taking guns away from domestic violence, and these sheriffs are refusing to enforce it. And,
okay, good for them.
And another thing is what they're saying is that buying guns, you have to pass a stricter restrictions to buy guns.
Yep. Hold on.
Wait, what?
Hold on.
Who's saying that? You said they're saying that. Who's saying that?
Okay, the new state law is supposed to so that when you purchase a gun, you have to prove all things.
All things?
But the thing is that,
prove all things. This is a
prove all of the things.
The guns belong to the family, and then they just give it to a cousin. I'm not going to go. The sheriffs are saying I'm not going to go there and check them out.
I don't think anybody's asking you to, are they? You play no role in this whole process. Correct, Sarah?
She voted.
You play no role in this whatsoever. This is between two people that want to... No, seriously, they want to sell a gun. Say it's a cousin to, some other cousin. They want to sell a gun from one person to another. That doesn't involve you at all, correct?
Well, it does involve me because I care. Because these, the so-called law, our governor signed it. It passed through the House. It passed through the Senate. That's the legal procedure. Now it becomes the state law.
See, that shows that she cares.
There is.
Because that's what you do when you care, is you threaten your neighbors.
There is another law that comes into play, Sarah. And don't forget this one. This is a little civics lesson. But do you know what the most powerful law, the one law that supersedes all other laws in the United States is? There's one law.
What?
The U.S. Constitution. It is through supremacy. If in doubt on any law, whether it is constitutional or not, you have to look at the Constitution. And in the case of the Second Amendment, which protects people's guns rights, it says shall not be infringed. So that's the battle you're up against, Sarah. I also question whether these things are going to do anything. The first thing you described was, let me see, what was the first law you talked about that was passed?
Domestic
violence, right. So this is called a red flag law. If anything has occurred, if anybody reports you for any reason, we think that guy is dangerous, and I know he's got a gun, so I'm going to call the cops. With very, very little proof in almost every time these laws have been enacted, a jealous or a spiteful ex can just call up the cops and get a SWAT team sent to your house to seize your guns, even if you are not a threat, even if you've never said anything threatening. A very, very low burden of proof. And where this really comes into play was, I'm going to tell you 2 cases. One is when a man was shot in Washington State because somebody used this, basically a red flag law against him. The cops busted down the doors and shot him. He had never done anything. He had no record whatsoever.
No, you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet.
Is that how it goes,
That's how you
Ian?
see. You didn't. She cares about people, Chris. What do you know? You don't care about people.
What's going to be really interesting is when the first police officer doing his job gets shot going to serve one of these warrants, and I'm not sure that hasn't happened already. We're going to research that, and I think it may have happened already. But, Sarah, thank you so much for the call. And, David, you're on Free Talk Live. So you wanted to talk a little bit about correcting Sarah. What did Sarah say that was not correct?
Well, yeah, let me clarify that. And first, let me say that I've had a list for several weeks that I wanted to share with you, and Sarah's thing was just one of the items on there. But the sum of all the items I had on that one list basically encompasses your last hour of radio. But regarding Sarah, it's not 6 sheriffs in New Mexico that are against the gun laws that are being proposed. Mm-hmm. It's 29, and there are 33 there are 33 counties in the state of New Mexico, and there are 29. And it's not just the sheriffs independently. There's the sheriff's organization or sheriff's association. New Mexico Sheriff's Association has come out against these gun laws. In fact, all of 29 of these sheriffs and other law enforcement went up to the roundhouse. The legislature is in session right now, and they went up to the roundhouse a week or so ago, and the roundhouse would not let them in. They would not let them in because the sheriffs were carrying guns.
Oh, and you can't have that.
Yeah, and guns have always been allowed open carry or concealed in the roundhouse.
Really?
And they made some rule change. They made some rule change apparently, and now not only are guns not allowed in there apparently, they're not even allowing law enforcement in that are packing heat.
Interesting.
And,
so the same sort of thing happened in New Hampshire. I assume that maybe...
they're not keeping the cops out of the state house.
No, but they did change house rules in the New Hampshire State House saying that legislators are no longer allowed to concealed carry or to have a weapon inside the State House. So I know a few state reps here in New Hampshire that have basically said, okay, that's a hill I'm fine dying on, so I'm going to just keep concealed carrying. Tell me I'm not. How are you going to enforce that?
Well, they would have to put men with guns and metal detectors at the entrance.
Absolutely. So I don't know where that story is exactly, but we had sort of the same thing. Did the roundhouse, that's what you call it,
state capitol?
Yeah. Did they undergo a shift in political leanings this last election? Did it go red to blue or something?
It's been blue though, hasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, well, no, New Mexico has historically been basically blue, but it has been actually a swing state. However, this last election, it's 100%. There are no Republicans holding statewide office or national office anywhere in New Mexico. It's completely Democrats.
Wow.
And from governor on down, and that's why they're running through every bit of legislation that they want to run through because there's nobody to stop them.
Right.
And so that's why the sheriffs have come out against it, and it goes beyond the sheriffs. So where Sarah got the number 6 is there are six of the counties, and they will all continue to fall like dominoes or follow like dominoes. So far, 6 of the county commissions have backed up their sheriffs by the county commissions have voted to make their to follow the left in making sanctuary cities and sanctuary counties and sanctuary states. Mm-hmm. They have voted to make their counties sanctuary counties for the Second Amendment.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Where they are not
we ought to have more sanctuary everything. Let's just have sanctuary Second Amendment, sanctuary immigration, sanctuary drug use, sanctuary, whatever you want to call it, sanctuary or nullification. The more we can push back against the centralized governments out there, the better, whether it be the state government or whether it be the federal government, as long as it's pushing back in the favor of freedom. Because what I don't want to see is localities having the home rule ability to create more government in their area, and thankfully we don't have that here, supposedly in New Hampshire.
Indeed, David. Thank you so much for your call.
Thanks.
And that's good to see. I hear the same thing out of Washington State. So Washington State enacted a ton of new gun laws. And you've got a number of sheriffs that are said, we're not enforcing them.
Excellent.
And good for you. That's what you need to do. That is called nullification.
But wait a minute, Chris. Doesn't that mean there's no rule of law?
Oh, dear. No, that means common sense becomes the rule of law.
Free Talk Live. Listen live 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern or grab the podcast. It's all at freetalklive.com.